Hey, good morning again, everyone, and welcome again to Morning Coffee and a Thought, brought to you by Wings of Faith Ministries here in Sarnia, Ontario. It's good to be with you. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about the subject of hope. Sometimes we can feel our hopes are dashed or unrealized, and we want to talk about two characters that come up in Mark chapter 5. Both of them feel that their hopes are going to be dashed. And yet, through the ministry of Jesus of Nazareth, they see their hopes realized. And we'll get back to our topic in just a moment. First of all, I want to remind you that Morning Coffee and a Thought can be seen every Friday on our YouTube channel beginning at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and on Sunday mornings beginning at 8 a.m. in the morning, and we hope you will join us. Also, if you have a prayer request, if you want information or you want to make a donation to our ministry, you can do all of that at wingsoffaithministries.ca. Also, a reminder that Al and I do episodes of Journey into Insight. And we did one on intercessory prayer, and there's 8 episodes there you can look at on our YouTube channel. Also, we have one coming up on the foundational truths of the Christian faith. And that's also going to be on the YouTube channel. So we hope that when we get that done, you will join us for that. So now, let's get back to our thought. Jesus has just crossed the Sea of Galilee from the western shore of that sea, where he restored a demonic. And now he's crossed over to the eastern shore to his home base of Capernaum. Mark tells us in chapter 5 that when he got there were huge crowds waiting for him. And so he began teaching, but as he's teaching, a synagogue ruler named Jairus pleads with him to come and heal his 12-year-old daughter. Now, generally, synagogue rulers were not, at that time, great allies of Jesus. But this is a desperate man. His daughter is at the point of death. And now he's coming to Jesus, this miracle worker and storyteller. Some would perceive Jesus as a prophet. He sees Jesus as his last hope of healing and restoration for his daughter. And Jesus agrees to come to his house and lay hands on his daughter. But the trek from the shore of the Sea of Galilee to this man's home is going to be a Megillah. There's a crowd pressing on him. And so movement is going to be very, very slow. And of course, it could not be fast enough for this man Jairus. On the way to the home of the synagogue ruler, our story is interrupted by a secondary plot. There is a woman in this crowd. She is suffering from a uterine problem, and from time to time she experiences hemorrhaging. To the Jewish religion, she would be considered unclean, and therefore would not be able to worship at the temple. But she's in the crowd, and she desperately wants to get in touch with Jesus. Driven by her despair, probably by a little superstition and faith, she says to herself, if I could just get to Jesus and touch his clothes, I know I would be healed. And so through this huge crowd, this woman works her way through and finally gets to Jesus and gets to touch his clothes. She feels she's been healed. Jesus feels that power has left him. Healing power has left him. But he wants to know why. So in the middle of this trek to the home of Jairus, Jesus just stops to find out who it was who touched his clothes and received healing. Finally, this woman comes before him and admits both her condition and her healing. Jesus tells her to go in peace. But of course, while all this is happening, poor Jairus has to be getting more anxious by the minute. Time and his hope is running out. Jesus has restored the hope of this woman, but Jairus now is in a real precarious position. Finally, as a climax sort of to this story, a person comes to him and tells him, "Your hopes are gone. Your daughter has died." Jesus overhears this conversation and he says to Jairus, "Don't fear, just believe. Hold on." Jesus finally arrives at his home and takes in with him Peter, James, and John. As they're going into the house, Jesus sees the mourners already there singing their songs in regards to the death of this 12-year-old girl. But here's a key line that I want to leave with you that Jesus says to them. This girl is not dead. She's just asleep. As I read that a couple of days ago, that line really stuck with me, not only in regards to this girl, which represented the hope of Jairus, but our hopes as well. The girl is not dead. It's not final. She's just asleep. Jesus will go into that home with Peter, James, and John, and he will restore that girl to life. Jairus' hopes have been realized. So what does all that have to do with us today? All of us throughout our lives have aspirations and hopes. Short-term, long-term, hopes in regards to employment, family. Our hopes could be anything, but they're carried deep inside of us. And sometimes situations happen which put those hopes at risk, or we may even feel our hope has died. I want to leave this with you today. Two people in Mark chapter 5 had thought their hopes had come to an end. A woman who had a uterine condition that all the doctors and physicians she had dealt with for 12 years previous couldn't help her. Her hopes were almost gone. And a synagogue ruler named Jairus, who felt his hope had died when his daughter died, as Jesus was making his way to his home. And yet in both cases, their hopes were realized in Jesus Christ. Today, you may feel that your hopes in life, your aspirations have died. But I love that line by Jesus. No, your daughter is not dead, just asleep. And I want to leave you with that nugget today, that maybe your hopes are not dead after all, that maybe they've been put aside or they're asleep, but they're not dashed. And those hopes can still be realized through Jesus Christ. Christ and in Christ is the only way that we can realize our hopes in this life. When all has been lost, there is Jesus of Nazareth, who to those people, those two people in Mark chapter 5, restored their hope. Today you could be listening to me, and I want to leave you that today. In Christ, your hopes, your aspirations can be realized through his saving work on Calvary. Jesus is our hope. Listen, Enjoy your coffee, and we'll see you again.